The moment of truth. Are we live? We are live. Awesome. Okay. I wonder if it's possible to see the participants. Maybe I should open up a new tab and
window.
Yeah. We're probably just gonna wait a couple minutes to wait for people to come in. Okay, we have some viewers. Hello, everyone. Where's everyone from? This is our first time doing YouTube, so
yes.
Let's see some activity in the chat. I want to know where everyone's from. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the event. From Nigeria, awesome. Nashville.
So wonderful. Breathe me in, breathe me out. I don't know.
Hello, Andy. Hey, Lauren.
Oh, wow, getting a head start. I didn't do this when I was a freshman, definitely.
Yeah, definitely not me either. Davis, California.
Oh, this is really cool being able to see all those comments.
Yeah, this is our first time doing YouTube live chat too, so this is fun. I like this. All right, we're gonna wait a couple more minutes and then we'll get started.
Hey, David, what's up? I went to high school with David.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeanette.
No, what's up? What's up? Can y'all hear the music? I'm actually not sure if it's like
a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
okay.
We're good. I appreciate it.
It's like nice background music. It's not too loud. It's like cool little. Yeah, it's good.
Yes. Yeah, David. I think we maybe had Kruka together. Kruka was like our like AP Calc teacher back in the day, like 3 years ago. Wow. Time passes by fast.
Hey, Kate.
Kate, what's up?
Actually, I'm gonna do this Jonathan from One Salting style and go live with my LinkedIn story.
Hey, let's do it. Let's do
it. What's up, LinkedIn? We're live with the TechPod event. Check it out. Go on TechPod on YouTube. And we have 3 awesome project management interns who broke into tech at Cisco, Workday, and Intuit. Check it out. YouTube. Let's go. All right, cool.
Your debut on Stories.
My LinkedIn Stories debut. TechPod. Can I mention TechPod in a story? Maybe not. I'll mention you guys though. Oh, hey, Yisra. We're going to start in a couple minutes as people are dropping in. I never do Instagram stories, but I guess like LinkedIn's my platform, so I guess I'll have to do LinkedIn stories.
I honestly don't really use stories either. I feel like I only use it when I like, actually have exciting things happening in my life, or like when I leave my house, basically, which is almost never nowadays.
That's an exciting moment for me too. All right, well, let's get started. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to this TechPod event. I'll just introduce myself and Vicky can introduce herself, and then we'll just get started with the panelists. So I'm Joseph. I'm a senior at the University of Michigan. I'm studying econ, and I interned at Salesforce last summer, and I started TechPod with Vicky because we're just really passionate about showing people what's out there on the business side of tech. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll let Vicky introduce yourself.
Yeah, that's great, Joseph. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Vicky. I'm currently a senior at UC Berkeley studying environmental economics and policy. And as Joseph mentioned, we started TechPod because we felt like there were a lot of other paths people could go down aside from the traditional banking and consulting route if they're interested in business. And so we're hoping that this event will give you a more inside look on what the life of a project management intern or even like potential project management career paths look like. And I'll give it back to you, Joseph.
All right. Well, we have 3 awesome project management interns with us today, and Mahmoud dropped out, but hopefully he'll be back in a sec. But yeah, I'll let the 2 of you introduce yourselves first.
You can go ahead first.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Amaranta Quintero, and I go to San Jose State University in the Silicon Valley, and I'm majoring in business with a concentration in operations management, which is basically supply chain management. Oh, and I intern at Intuit as a project management intern.
I'm Sean. I just graduated from UC Berkeley this last spring. And I was a project management intern at Workday, and I majored in political science in undergrad.
Wow, poli-sci.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think my computer crashed. I had to jump on a different laptop. But my name is Mahmoud. Like Sean, I also just graduated from UC Berkeley. I studied cognitive science. I did a minor in computer science there. Currently, I'm a product manager at Redfin. Summer prior, I had the opportunity to do project management at Cisco. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm also a Bay Area local, born and raised in Fremont, California.
Awesome. So I'm just going to jump right into the questions, but as I'm asking our pre-selected questions that we got from you guys on LinkedIn, you guys can feel free to ask whatever questions you have in the comments, and we will highlight them just like this. So feel free to put your comments in or your questions in the chat throughout this whole event, and we'll be answering them live. So I think the first question that everyone wants to know about is, how did you guys get into your internships? What was your recruiting process like at your companies? And yeah, how did you prepare yourself for the recruiting process in project management?
I can go first.
Yeah, sure, go.
And okay, yeah. So I think that's a good question. Something that I noticed, and I'm sure the other panelists can talk to this a little bit, there aren't actually that many project manager internship roles in general. There's also different names for like a project management internship. There's like program manager, there's technical project management, there's technical program management. There aren't like a bunch of them. And something that I noticed that was helpful for me is number one, just like identifying all of those roles. I knew I was interested in the space of product, program, and project management. I still didn't know what all of them were at the time, as a junior in college. And one thing that was really helpful is like identifying all those roles, like being able to find them and make sure you apply to them, because I think they are sometimes hidden. The second thing that was really important was in terms of preparing and like the interview process, having a really good understanding of your story, as well as knowing your experiences really well and being able to talk to them. Something that I've told like a lot of undergrads, and a piece of advice I wish I knew earlier on is you don't need to have a lot of different experiences. You just need to be able to talk about them really well. You need to have concrete stories, concrete experiences. Hopefully they're meaningful, where you did something that was impactful, whatever the role was. And being able to talk to that and being very specific, to me, is what I noticed is like probably one of the biggest things that helped me throughout that process. I know it's kind of general advice, but I've noticed it applies to a bunch of different roles when you're interviewing for internships.
Yeah, I would actually say that's the biggest thing for me as well, was just really focusing on certain parts and certain aspects that you really feel strongly about or passionate, and just emphasizing those. It's not necessarily like you have to be able to build a rocket ship, but being able to talk about any of your experiences and really showing why it was important to you and what you got out of it and how you can be good for that role was definitely a skill that I really honed on in prepping for the interviews.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of you guys. I feel like you guys just took the words out of my mouth. But yeah, project management interns, I don't want to say they're hard to come by, but they're a lot less offered than other internships as I've seen. Like at Intuit, out of the whole Mountain View headquarters, it was only a small team of project managers of 4 people. So, I mean, just that company as an example. And some advice I would give is, a lot of times when I interviewed, they would ask me like, oh, like, do you have any experience from prior internships? And I had never done an internship. So that question like freaked me out all the time. But I was talking to one of my professors and he told me like, stuff you're doing every day is a project, like just take it out from there. So if you have like a group project, how did you divide the tasks? How did you allocate your resources? How did you plan when you're going to get stuff done? And really, like, it changed my life. Now everything I do, I'm like, this is a project that I could talk about in a future interview, because it really is just managing your resources, knowing what you need to get done by when you need to get it done. So yeah, I guess just emphasizing like knowing what your story is and why you'd be fit for that role based on what you've done.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's another big thing is that like my supervisor once told me that like every single job you can possibly have is project management, but we'll just have a different title and some different like form of work. But it's just specifically finding what you can identify as something that you can show would help you with skills for that internship or position.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I like how, Amaranta, I like how you said that you didn't even have an internship before you applied to project management, and you just talked about your past experiences. Non-internship or internship, everything is a project. That's really interesting. And Mahmoud, to kind of go back to your point about your advice about, half the battle is just knowing what's out there. For example, program, product, project management. Could you all kind of elaborate on the differences that you see between those different roles? And are there certain traits that make someone a bit better for one than the other?
I went first last time. I think I wanted to hand it off to one of the other panelists, and I can also weigh in later.
As far as project and program, the differences, so I actually joined a team of program managers at Workday. And so program management is just like project management, except you have like one little baby, and your little baby is your little program, and you basically do projects only pertaining to that, where a project manager, at least in my setting, was more used as kind of like a Swiss Army knife. Any like place where there was needed extra help or like utility projects, some stuff like that would be assigned to a project manager.
Yeah, I had actually never heard of a product management in general until my internship. And I mean, I didn't really get the chance to interact with a lot of product managers or product management interns just because it was virtual. But the ones that I met seem to have been majoring in like business. So I'm not completely sure what the difference is, but I guess it just opened my eyes where you could do either with the same major.
Yeah, I think I could talk a little bit about product versus project. I took a product management class at Berkeley, and our professor said it so concisely. He was like, product management is the what and why when it comes to building. Project management is the how and when. And there's overlap in both of those roles will have like something to do with all 4 of those things. So as a product manager, you're figuring out what needs to be built. You're figuring out why you need to build it. But you're also working with engineers and designers and marketing to figure out how it's going to get done and how long it's going to take. One thing that I do like to say, and I don't know if the rest of you had similar experiences, but something to know is project management as an intern is very general. So when you talk about like what traits or what specific like experiences make you really like set you up well for it, the project managers, at least at Cisco, and I'm only talking about Cisco, could do like completely different tasks. So like some people could be doing like analysts, like Excel, Tableau, SQL type tasks where they're like digging into data and looking at trends. Other people could help in different things. Like I know someone was working in mergers and acquisitions, which I thought was crazy as like a project manager intern. So it's still pretty vague title. And I think when it comes to like certain traits, I think it's things that are transferable, just a good work ethic, being able to communicate effectively. I would say for project management, like understanding timelines and being extremely organized might be like a trait that you really want to have polished compared to others.
Oh, I think you're muted.
Oops, I'm muted. Yeah. We have a question from Yisra, kind of going off that one. How technical do you need to be for each? And especially project management. How technical do you really need to be?
For me, not at all. Couldn't program for the life of me. I can do some HTML, but I learned that during the internship. Other than that, none. Like it just depends on your role and what you're doing and what you need to be used for.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm so like not as much as I used to be, but I'm so scared of technology and technology terms. Like before my Intuit interview, I like studied so much thinking they were going to ask me technical stuff, and they didn't ask me any of that because the role really didn't require it. But just working in that environment, you will pick up things. Like before the internship, I didn't know what front end and back end. Like I did not know what any of that. And I mean, at least Intuit, I didn't feel any pressure to learn just because I didn't need to. But definitely, like you don't need to put pressure on yourself to learn that, because being in that environment, you will pick up things that you need to.
Yeah, I would echo what the other two said. I do think you don't need to be extremely technical, and it will vary like team by team. Again, when looking for interns, like hiring managers are looking for specific things. So like maybe there is a certain technology they want you to be familiar with, but for the most part, I think it comes down to, like we said, just having a couple of really good experiences where like you had to like manage, like work with different people and like solve a problem. Because at the end of the day at companies, your task is to solve problems. A lot of times you can learn how to use tools and technology. I will say for product management, which is a little bit different, I'll just touch upon briefly. It depends on where you're trying to be a product management intern or work full-time. Depends at what company. I would say having an understanding of technology is a little bit more important because you are working more closely with engineers. So even if you don't know how to code, understanding how systems work and processes work is important. And it's a little bit more important at different companies. I won't go on too much about this, but Google, for example, hires really technical, like new grad or intern product managers, whereas companies like Atlassian or Facebook don't really require that as much. So there are programs depending on like what your skill sets are and what your background is, and you kind of have to find what fits your needs most.
Awesome. So if we could go into some of your actual things you did in your internships, could you share some of the things that you did, some of the projects you did, and the projects that you did as a project management intern?
Yeah. Oh,
Go for
no,
it.
you can go ahead. You can go. It's fine.
Okay. So for mine, I was working with the Workday education department. So basically the people that sold the classes, that taught people how to use the software, and various things like that. And one of my big projects was migrating all of their data points in their old content management system into their new one. So it's thousands of class manuals, scripts, things like that, and figuring out the process of how to best move all of these items into the new system without taking instructors out of classrooms or taking people off of their regular jobs, and just creating the process, creating the communications for that, and finally assisting in the process of doing it.
That's awesome. That's kind of similar kind of what I did. I was on the tech learning team, so our customers were really Intuit employees. And one of the really cool things they do as Intuit is they have a course to teach, or it's any employee that really wants to take it. It's a data science course, just because it is a tech company and they do want everyone to be familiar with data science and just to get them thinking like data scientists. So, and this class had been going on for a while. So one of my projects was actually to come up with a set of questions that would get us qualitative results, but also quantitative, just to see how much they're getting from the class. And after that, I analyzed the responses and made recommendations on what to do to improve the course. And another really cool project that I did that I think really encompasses project management is Intuit does these things that they're called tech talks, but they're kind of like TED Talks, but technical subjects. And kind of a subcategory of that is Tech Talks Next Gen. And that's just where new college hires can like meet and network with other new college hires and just hear about which projects they're working on. And yeah, this was the first year it was going to be virtual. So that was pretty hard because they just said, okay, this is what we used to do, now make it virtual. So I kind of felt like the instructions were so broad, but they were so specific at the same time. And I say this truly encompasses project management, at least for my understanding, is because I had to talk to a lot of different departments. They gave me a set of resources. One time I could like choose between different times I could do it. And it was just making that decision and seeing when it could be done and when it would best fit the needs of the people that were there.
Yeah, I think my experience was a little bit different. I actually ended up doing a little bit of like software development during my internship. And I think the reason being was because my manager like knew I was doing a minor in computer science and kind of like pushed me. There was like something he wanted me to build, and we like worked together, and I got to work with one of the engineers in my department. I will say that's not typical. I know, like looking back now, there was a bunch of different project manager interns I met, and I don't think any of them really did software development, and it's very team dependent. But I ended up building a tool. I was in like a logistics department, operations and logistics, that would like track like returns and see whether or not an item was broken. Like if there was recalls on that item, or like why someone was filling in a return request. So I just built like a small little internal tool for some of the workers in my department. But outside of that, and I think more general like tasks that I did was like there was like different analysis projects we did where we'd look at numbers of like, oh, where are shipments coming out of? Where are things getting broken? What are the complaints people are getting? So like there are different tasks you can do. I noticed like on one end it was software development, on the other end it was like using like Tableau to analyze data, using Excel to kind of sift through things. Those are, I would say, at a high level, some of the things I did.
It's awesome. Yeah, that's really interesting how diverse the role can be. It's how yours was so much more software focused. We have a question from David. How were each of you able to apply your academic experience, for example, your major, in the application and interview process for your internship?
Yeah, I can go first for this one. And yeah, I don't really want to unmotivate anybody, but I didn't really see any of things that I learned in my classes in my actual internship. I mean, yeah, the soft skills you learn in class, but it was for a tech company, and my major mainly focuses around supply chain management. So that was kind of hard because everything at my internship just felt so intangible because I'm studying like workflows, documents, data processes. So it seemed very intangible for something that I was expecting. But yeah, I don't think there was, besides like Six Sigma process, other than that, I don't think I ever heard something in my internship where I was like, yeah, I learned this in class.
Yeah, for me, definitely not. As a poli-sci major, there was not a lot of American government to do with Workday, but the things I did emphasize with my major were the abilities that it gave me to look at data, interpret it, and process that and really come to conclusions, and the thought process it helps you with, and the free thinking that it kind of encourages you to do. That was more of what I sold rather than saying I learned about government to land the internship.
Yeah, I think I echo the sentiment as well, that you aren't necessarily taking things that you learn directly from a course and applying it to your work in an internship. I think especially as an intern, when there's like so little we know, at least like I'm talking about myself, like I really didn't know much going into like my first couple internships at all. You're just a student and they know that, and they're looking to kind of like teach you and help you grow. One note though I like to mention about majors, and I think like Sean kind of did this, is like you can always weave a story with whatever you majored. So like for me, for example, with cognitive science, like it's actually a pretty general major. That's why I did a minor in computer science, but you could apply that to like so many different fields, right? You can talk about how you understand people. So like in product management, which is what I'm doing right now, I talk about like understanding user behavior and understanding psychology. With project management, I was able to talk about a couple of different things. But something I'm noticing in industry is your major doesn't matter as much as like the things you took out of it. So like if you majored in English and you're an extremely like you know how to communicate really well, especially written communication, that can go like leaps and bounds in industry. Like I've met like directors of product who are like English majors, and like that shocks me, but it makes sense because you need to communicate really effectively. So it kind of goes back to like what big picture concepts you're able to take out of your major and how you can kind of position them.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I know this one girl that goes to my school. She just got into the law school and she majored in English. And at first that was kind of like, oh, like, how'd you go from English to like law? I thought it was weird. But she just basically said to sell yourself, because when she was applying to law school, they didn't care that she read Shakespeare. They cared that she knows how to read and analyze text. She knows how to get the important stuff out of the text and analyze it after. So yeah, it really just is creating your story with your major and how it can fit in your current role or the role that you're applying for.
Yeah, I love this. I love this so much because like this is the stuff that Vicky and I talk about all the time. Like, you don't have to come from a super technical background. You don't need a project management certificate or, prior experience. It's really about telling a story and using your past experiences for, thinking about those applicable skills and applicable experiences. So that's really encouraging personally for me to hear. We have a question from Adam. So about your application process, did you guys connect with recruiters? I've seen a lot of posts, and I've posted about this too on LinkedIn, where about messaging recruiters and cold emailing and all this and trying to network your way in. Did you guys do any of that prior to the role, or did you just, drop your resume?
I kind of just dropped my resume, and I saw the job posting itself and a connection of a connection interacted with it. So it popped up on mine, and I just dropped a quick comment and then applied.
Yeah, I'm not sure if other universities have this, but SJSU, all the students really utilize Handshake a lot. When it's kind of like Glassdoor, but it's more geared towards students because you have to have a student login for it. And I applied to over 200 internships. So I really didn't remember which ones I applied to. So when I saw the email from Intern, I was like, wait, what is this? But yeah, I did. I just submitted my resume to anyone that would take it, basically.
Yeah, at least in my situation, I didn't end up doing like a simple resume drop. I ended up getting a referral for the role. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I don't think I interacted with a recruiter prior. I will say, like, even with the virtual career fairs, being able to talk to recruiters is helpful. Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories of people like doing like lots of applications, and I think that is like something that I can also empathize with, because it's like part of it's just a numbers game, and like whenever you can get a referral, whenever you do know someone, whenever you can talk to a recruiter, you should. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't also submit an application if you can't find anyone, or like the role is about to close. And I think there's like different success rates with both, and just like finding what works for you. Yeah.
And something to avoid though in your cold emailing process or calling, or is to just do the LinkedIn DM where I see this, I see you've done this, please refer me, or doing that to a recruiter, or sending a cold email that basically the sentiment is please refer me. Always start with some type of formality or a question or something like that. Don't just go for it.
Yeah, this is actually, I just recently heard about connecting with recruiters on LinkedIn, just because like I got on TikTok this quarantine, and I feel like I'm learning so much, and I'm like following a bunch of recruiters, and they all give so much, like you guys should all follow recruiters on TikTok. It's so cool. But yeah, they give really good advice for how to like cold email recruiters in like a genuine way.
Yeah. One other thing I'll bring up, at least from my experience, even like trying to ask questions to recruiters on LinkedIn, personally, like this is just my personal experience, like has literally never worked. Like I don't think a recruiter has ever replied to me on LinkedIn unless I met them in person, or like there was some sort of like introduction. And I think to that point, like spending time on like a couple quality interactions will go way farther than like trying to reach out to every single recruiter on LinkedIn. Again, it's the job, like internship, like recruitment process is really hard, and like people will do like try a whole bunch of different things. And I think that's kind of like what Sean's saying is like sometimes people are just like reaching out to like random people for referrals. And it's one thing that I notice is try and really specify like where you want to work, what you want to do to the best of your knowledge, and like zone in and be very specific and genuine.
Yeah, I love all that advice. That's really valuable. It's really all about like making those genuine relationships, and if the referrals come, they come. Yeah. Oh, Amaranta, we have a question for you. Who are you following on Career TikTok?
Okay, I don't have their names, but I will look them up. Yeah, I don't have all their actual usernames, but I will look them up a little bit after this, and I'll put them in the chat. I follow a lot, so don't worry, I got you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so let's see. We have a question. I'm going to post it right here. So what's currently in the works for your careers, and like what's next for you guys?
Yeah.
Sean, I think you're muted, or I can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, no, I was muted. You're right. Currently, I'm in the process of interviewing for a job at a local county for a voter turnout project. That kind of combines my education and my project management experience very much so. So that's something I'm really excited about. It's kind of combining the two and finding a niche.
I feel like I have 3 really big bucket list goals or job careers that I want to do, but yeah, with Corona, it's like changed so much. I'm in my last year of college, so I still have some time to figure it out. But I do want to really work either in the cruise industry or in the airline industry. Maybe do like supply chain or quality for them would be, I mean, I can't say it would be amazing because I've never done it, but it seems like it would be really cool. But also before I retire, maybe after I retire, I really want to do supply and logistics for Doctors Without Borders. Mm-hmm. I think that would be, it's so funny. Every time I tell people that, they're like, oh, like you want to be a doctor? And I'm like, no, they do so many other things besides that. But yeah, that's definitely something on my bucket list.
Very cool. In terms of like my first step in my career right now, I am working at Redfin. I'm doing product management, one of their new grad product manager hires. I've been thinking a lot about career like in the future, and there's so much that's kind of unknown as I spent the first couple months working. I do want to eventually, I think, try and align my career a little bit more with like some of my interests. So, for example, like I'm really interested in like social impact, specifically problems like education, also just like mental health and like healthcare in general. I don't know what that looks like in terms of the future, but that's kind of like next step, several years down the line, I'd say.
Wow, super cool. Wait, I did not, like, to be honest, I wasn't expecting any three of those answers. So that's super cool that you guys have so many like passions and interests, and that project management is such a good bridge into so many interesting like career paths. So yeah, that's awesome. Let's see. I'm just gonna look through the questions again. Oh yeah. So from Jay, what does the landscape look like for new grad project management roles?
It's tough. Like oftentimes project management roles, like strictly project management, if you're non-technical, there's a significant amount of experience that's looked for with that, or a project management certificate sometimes, not often, but so with that one. But it's tough for new grad project management roles.
Yeah, I think something that comes to my mind is, again, project management can vary. I mean, it may be an industry, like the more experience you have, the more of like more specific the role becomes, but especially entry level. Something that was interesting was like even at Cisco, although I was a project manager intern, my role conversion was for a new grad business analyst. And I think it has a lot to do with like the levels of the company and the roles and titles. But I will just say that there are roles that are very similar to project management that just have different titles. And I think that's also an important thing to note. So again, like program management, different types of analysts and consulting roles, like internally, like if you're a business analyst or like I even like an associate, there's different types of roles that can be very similar to project management. I would say, like Sean, that there aren't many new grad project management roles, although there are still roles that are very similar. I think that would be like my answer.
And I mean, I'm still in college. I haven't looked yet, but let's hope that it's good.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think Mahmoud, I really like resonated with that because I've always thought like personally, oh, I need to get into this specific role. Like this title sounds really like prestigious or whatever. But you know, at the end of the day, kind of like you guys were saying earlier, like it's just like project management is kind of just the name, and all your past experiences are actually very applicable to different titles. So yeah, that's really good advice. So we have a question from Andy. Given that the average work environment is over Zoom over other virtual platforms, what keeps your mindset flowing from Zoom's fatigue? And overall, just how have you guys been dealing with that like remote work environment?
So for me, I did not have a remote work environment. I was lucky enough to do mine last summer, but it was very much so just dealing with fatigue in general. It like project management is not like some role where you have a significant amount of brain dead time or downtime or just like heads down time. It's kind of constant meetings being pulled in different directions constantly. Just ways to deal with that are kind of like specific to each company, and everyone can develop their own personal strategies kind of for that.
My internship was this past summer, so it was online, unfortunately. And Zoom fatigue is so real, like 100%. And I guess I just felt it more because, like I said, I had such an interactive role where I had to talk to so many people. And whereas if we were in office, I could just walk up to my manager's desk and ask somebody, or I could walk up to somebody else and ask them a question. Whereas online, I had to book a meeting with them on their calendar. I had to find free time on their calendar, which, I mean, I've never been in person, but I would assume it's more difficult online to do that. Probably, I think so. But yeah, just turning off your computer, or not like completely shutting it off, but turning off your computer for like a few minutes and just walking around the house really helped me. Except I like always got distracted doing something else. So I would have to put my alarm on for like 3 minutes and then just coming back. And I mean, I don't know if I just had super awesome managers, but they always told me like, yeah, you can disappear for like 30 minutes. It's okay. So yeah, just creating that time for yourself is really important.
Yeah, at Redfin we actually use Google Meet, but I'll still call it Zoom fatigue because I think it sounds better. Or like this video call fatigue in general. I agree, it's very real, and I think even just like onboarding like any sort of role virtually has its own sets of challenges. I will say like after a while you start to accommodate as best as you can. A couple of things that I noticed really help is like I'll take some meetings outside, like in my backyard, and just like sit in the sun, especially if I don't need to share my screen. I probably should get up more. I probably should be going outside more during my breaks. So there are a couple of other things that I think are super beneficial. And probably the last thing is I actually try not to be on my laptop too much in the evening and spend time with family. Just kind of like shut off. Like I think during the school year, it's easy to like almost always be on your laptop because at least like pre-pandemic, you'd get up and you talk to people and then you'd sit down and do work, or you'd go to the library, and there's like all these different kind of like you move a lot more. I think now with everything being on a computer or like on a phone or some sort of technology, it's really important to like shut off for a couple hours a day and just like not look at it.
Yeah, great tips. We have a question about, I'm waiting for it to pop up in the chat, but the question is, how do you feel about getting the CAPM certification for new grads? And I saw we had another question earlier about the PMP certification. So yeah, I think both, if you guys could answer both of those, like how do you guys feel about the CAPM certification and also the PMP certification?
So I actually asked my supervisor about this while I was working at Workday, and she said that she did not care about it whatsoever. But then there were other people in my department who wouldn't even look at resumes if they didn't have a PMP certification. So it really, honestly, it's just luck of the draw with the hiring manager. Like my boss paid no regard to it whatsoever. It wasn't even a plus.
I will say that I didn't have, it wasn't a topic that was brought up that much. I actually didn't ask my supervisor about it. And I think, again, for like with my hiring manager, he probably wouldn't have cared because he didn't bring it up at all. One thing I will mention, and I think everyone has their own path. So like sometimes it's like getting a certification. One thing that like kind of wanted to touch upon is any experience that like where you get to learn or like build something or try something new is still worth its weight. So like you don't need to like get a certification to prove experience. Any sort of project, and when people talk about side projects, they think about coding, but like there's so many different things you can do. Like you can start an organization like TechPod, you can like start a blog, you can start a YouTube channel, you can code if you want to, you can use like tools, like no code tools to build things. I think showing some sort of initiative goes really far. And I think, I know it's like not necessarily directly answering your question, but really what a certification does is it shows some sort of experience around a domain, and like you can pick up that experience doing other things as well.
I mean, my bosses never brought it up, so I wouldn't think it was necessary. Something that was talked about at Intuit a lot was like Agile certification. And if I had to choose between like either Lean Six Sigma certification or Agile, I would probably choose that over project management certification, just because you can use a process certification in any role, whereas a project management role, it's kind of, I guess you're not limited, but you could probably build your story more with a different kind of certification, in my opinion.
Very much so.
Yeah, that's super good advice. Agile, if anyone did catch that, Agile certification is really good too. Vicky has a question. Why do you think companies hire project management interns when the role is usually reserved for people with more experience?
So I personally think it's because project managers have a lot of tiny workflows and a lot of smaller things that build into the big things. So instead of having companies having like their full-time project managers handling the small things, they have an intern on and get to scope new talent and give people more experience and just kind of like develop a talent pool while keeping work off of their full-time employees.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually think that's a really good question. It's like, like why does that happen? Especially like at Cisco, I thought it was interesting because we had a bunch of project management interns. But like again, my role converted to business analyst, and I still think a lot of my role would have been really similar. And I think it kind of has to do with like what the titles are, what the leveling is at the company. Like entry level, they just didn't hire project managers, so they like slapped on like what an entry level role title would have been. I kind of like, again, this is a hypothesis, so there's like no backing here, but I feel like it's a general title, and I think it can apply to so many different things where it's like it's a good kind of generalist intern title, right? Because you could do so many different things as a project manager intern, and I think that's one of the really cool things about it. And for that reason, like you'll see interns with that title, but it doesn't always necessarily convert to full time. That's kind of my hypothesis. Yeah, I don't have any data or anything to back that up.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I don't think I have an answer for that. Yeah, I'm assuming it's just because it really is getting your foot out in the door. Like I said, I didn't have any experience before, so I'm like really lucky that I got my internship with Intuit. But I mean, they were hiring people with no internship experience and people with like 3 years of internship experience. So I would say it's pretty just, yeah, how you present yourself.
Awesome. We have a pretty general question here. What do you think was the biggest takeaway from your internship?
That prioritization and organization are very underrated skills and something that you should try to develop in your everyday life. So there's no learning curve when you start in any job really, but especially a project management role.
Yeah, kind of going into this, I kind of pictured like, oh, it's a management role, so I'm just going to be really telling people what to do and that's going to be it. But it wasn't like that whatsoever. And I also just assumed I would get one project and I would be working on it for the entire summer. But and I actually did talk to my manager at the end of the summer, and he basically explained it to me that project management isn't like you're getting one project and you're working on it for the entirety of your career. A lot of times it's a lot of smaller projects, and time management for that was something that I took away and I'm still using to this day, because yeah, your entire life is a project. So seeing how to manage those different projects was really important.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of different things I took away from my internship. One is, I think with like number one, I think the point about management was really interesting, like project management, like, oh, what are you managing? It's really funny. Number one, as an intern, I don't know any interns that manage like anybody, so that definitely doesn't happen. And I even think as like a new grad, when you have the role like manager in your title, it's funny, like I'm a product manager, but I don't manage anybody. There's a phrase that I love, which is like you're a manager with no authority or something along those lines. Basically, no one reports to me. It's a lot of leading through influence, and I think in any role you really have to be able to like communicate with people, and like if you want to get something done, it's like you're a team, right? You're not telling people what to do. That's the first thing. The second thing is with any internship experience, you can really take out you can focus on what you want to focus on. I think that was a big takeaway for me. So I wanted to see what the process was of like outlining a project, like coming up with a spec for what I was going to build, talking to people who interacted with my tool. Like you have a lot more freedom to do what you want to do as an intern than you do as a full-time worker. And I think it's like, if you know you have an idea of what you want to do, whether it's like you want to be an analyst, you're really interested in data, or like you're really interested in design, but you're like a project manager intern. Like focus in on what interests you and like double down on that during your internship. Managers give you a lot of flexibility.
Awesome. All right. That was actually our last question. Thanks so much, you guys, for answering all the questions and giving all your insights to our students. Yeah, we're gonna do the coffee chat raffle now. So it is coffee chat time. Yes, Vicky. All right. I'll let Vicky take it away.
All right. What's up, guys? Hope everybody had a good time with the panel. So now we have just a couple more minutes left to do the coffee chat raffle. So why don't we start? Let's see. Why don't we start with Sean? If you would like to have a coffee chat with Sean, go ahead and say hashtag Sean in the comments. And let's see.
I wish I could also participate. Sorry, Sean.
I actually can't see the comments, but let me open up YouTube. Wait, Joseph, am I supposed to be able to see the comments on StreamYard?
You can see this. Yeah, I think they're a tiny bit slower, but yeah.
Oh, I see. And if not, I want a coffee chat with Sean. Do people need like accounts on YouTube to
possibly to comment? That is possible. But okay, while everyone is doing this, I have something to show y'all. So okay, I'm gonna share this link, but basically we had this idea that we could like connect the tech pod community more. So if you guys go to the spreadsheet, I just pasted it in the comments. You guys, I put your name, LinkedIn profile, and post URL. So basically, if you just want to connect with people in the tech pod community, the people on this call, this is a perfect time to like, network with people. So like, I'll give Yusra as an example. Like she made her very first post only 3 weeks ago, and she got like 86 likes. Because she like tagged people, like she tagged me, she tagged Vicky, and she just shared her insights from the event. So if you guys learned something from this event, definitely make a post about it. Like my post, I post stuff like this too, and just talk about what I'm learning. And people from all these companies like look at my posts, and I've connected with some really cool people. So definitely check out this. And even if you don't want to make a post, just feel free to link your LinkedIn profile in the doc. All right, so we got some comments. Hashtag Sean. Let's select one. I'm just gonna close my eyes and try to select a random one. All right, Kevin. Let's go. All right, Kevin. Congrats. Feel free to message Sean on LinkedIn, connect, send a personalized invite, and you guys should have a coffee chat. Vicky, you're muted.
Oh no.
All right, I'm unmuted now. Okay. Everybody put hashtag Mahmoud in the chat if you guys would like. I am? Wait, am I still muted?
No, we can hear you.
You're good. You're good.
I'm good, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. Everybody put hashtag Mahmoud in the chat if you guys would like a coffee chat with him. So if you're interested in PM and project management, this would be a good opportunity to do so. I kind of want to enter myself, but I don't know if I'm allowed to.
Yeah, let's save it for the audience.
Yes, yes. Why did I see your comment there, though, Joseph?
I'll skip myself. All right, actually, I'm gonna do a random number generator. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last call, anyone who wants to get in. Last call. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do 1 through 7. And it is 6. So that is, I'm not counting myself or TechPod, by the way. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sunpreet. Congrats, you won.
Ooh. Let's go. All right. Last person. Amaranta. Everybody put hashtag Amaranta. You guys want either are curious about Intuit or interested in project management, or it sounds like she's also interested in supply chain. So, if you guys are interested in any of that stuff, I think she would be an excellent person to speak to.
Yes.
I'm going to enter myself because let's do it.
I definitely would have entered myself to talk to any of the panelists, so highly recommend.
And by the way, here's the spreadsheet again if you guys want to go and connect with each other. All right. I'm going to wait a couple more seconds. Looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, do 6. Ready? And the number is 2. So that is 1, 2. That's Chelsea. Awesome. Congrats, Chelsea. Message Amaranta on LinkedIn and have your coffee chat. All right, everyone. Thanks. Yeah, time to plug stuff. So if you thought that this was a useful session, you learned something, definitely check out our newsletter and on Substack and learn more about the business side of tech. And also connect, even if you didn't win a coffee chat, connect with the panelists.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that they would appreciate more connections, and you guys can just keep up with everyone on LinkedIn. And
Yeah, really appreciate you guys coming to this panel. We have some more coming up. So if you're interested in attending more of these, make sure to follow TechPod on LinkedIn, as well as, like Joseph said, everybody here, because in the end, we just all want to get to know each other and learn from each other. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you guys for hosting
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, thanks.
No, it was a pleasure.
Oh. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
See you all.
bye everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. All right.